Hey, welcome to the Elle Russ Show. My name is Elle Russ, and I am a #1 best-selling author and master coach. My intention is to inspire, educate, and motivate you with weekly content featuring amazing guests and solo episodes. Visit my website, elleruss.com, to learn more about me, my courses, free masterclasses, partner discounts, and much more. Enjoy the show. Debbie Marlowe, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Miss Al. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Always a pleasure. So I've known Debbie for, God, it might be even 10 years.
It's probably been more than that.
Yeah. I met Debbie a while ago, and she's a fellow, she's got more certifications than I do, holistic, paleo, ancestral, whole foods coach, helps with also elimination diets. So we've been in the same sphere for a while. I follow her on Instagram and throughout her travels and all the kind of stuff, and your walks through the woods with your doggies and all this stuff. But let's talk a little bit about, for those that, are listening and don't know you, how did you even get into be interested in helping other people with their health?
Well, I had quite the journey health-wise, and I really just wanted people to not have to go through everything that I had to go through. The doctors looking at you going, there's nothing wrong with you. Hopscotching from doctor to doctor because you couldn't get anybody to listen. It's all in your head. Your labs are fine. Well, then why do I feel like this? All that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to be that fairy godmother for somebody who was going through health issues or just trying to get healthier. That in itself is a major life change. And it's always helpful when you've got somebody that you can talk to about it.
Oh, absolutely. And tell us about some of the problems that you went through yourself and that you were feeling, and what helped you alleviate those things.
Now hindsight being 2020, I had ongoing EBV issues. Sometimes you
Epstein-Barr for people listening.
Yes, Epstein-Barr virus. And once you get that, most everybody gets it, but sometimes it's recurring, sometimes it's not. And so now I know that those times when I had so much fatigue, it was the Epstein-Barr coming back. I also have autoimmune. I've got Hashimoto's, which was one of the reasons you and I started talking, because I read your book and I was like, oh my God, she's amazing. Let me reach out to her. And that's how you and I started talking. So had a Hashimoto's diagnosis and worked on that. Have had asthma since I was like 2, and didn't realize that was an autoimmune issue until I started. It was probably my early 40s. My asthma just started kicking up really bad. The fatigue started, and I was like, okay, I need to get a handle on whatever this is, because I'm 40 years old and I shouldn't feel like this. And I started researching paleo, and that's when there were 5 people talking about paleo. It was Mark and
right.
Lauren and Rob and, you and, probably a handful of others.
And by the way, just for those listening, she's talking about Rob Wolf, Mark Sisson. Who was the other one you mentioned? Lauren Cordain. Lauren Cordain is like the original, if you're listening right now, Lauren Cordain is like the #1 granddaddy of the entire paleo primal movement. He wrote the book called The Paleo Diet. In fact, just a side note, you can't even use the phrase the paleo diet. So in the paleo thyroid solution, if I refer to anything as like, it has to be like paleo eating strategy or paleo paradigm. And then years later, Mark came out with the Primal Blueprint, and then that just exploded Lauren Cordain's book, because Lauren Cordain really hadn't done much putting the word out there. So I just wanted to give everyone that little history of those paleo peeps in case they want to look them up.
Yeah, so that's the old school paleo. And it's so funny because now you can, now paleo, everybody knows it. But it's just, I started with that, and that really helped. And what I figured out was I did like a paleo elimination diet. And I figured out that I did not do well on grains. And guess what? Most of my diet was at the time. I had cereal every morning. I'm a good girl. I love pasta, and stuff like that. And found out that was no bueno for me. So that was just, one of the things. But yeah, just continuing on the health journey. And every time I learn something, I try to spit it back out to. I probably need a better word than that. I like to I like to take it in and then make it super easy for people to understand because sometimes that stuff isn't real easy to understand. And so I always strive to just, helpful hints for a healthy lifestyle, I guess. Oh, that's like a tagline.
There you go. I let's talk about some of the things because for example, when I started like the paleo journey and I'm trying to figure out like what do I eat, what do I do? Like, you're just trying to like this a
Mhm.
new world without grains and stuff.
Right.
I kept making the mistake of like I was going to Mark and I'm like, I feel like I'm getting a little fatter, like I don't know. And he's like, well, what are you if you're snacking or something, what are you snacking on? And I was like, I don't know, like nuts. And he's like, there's your problem.
Mhm.
and and then it was just like he's like, Al, most people eat handfuls of nuts. When you do that, now you're putting, you're not burning the fat on your body, and it's like so calorically dense. Like
Right.
a serving of nuts is like a shot glass. Who the fuck eats a shot glass of pistachio nuts? I eat like a handful, right? So these were like some of the little things that I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Not that nuts are bad; they're part of a
No.
wonderful whole food list. So, what are some of those types of things that you've seen with people you've coached within yourself? Some little mistakes and tips along the way when people are starting on this journey and they don't understand maybe some of these nuances because nuts are on the list and seeds are on the list, and they go, "Oh, okay,
Let me eat those. Let me eat all the nut butter.
that's
So
right."
my early on, one of my favorite things to do was to get a thing of Justin's hazelnut nut butter. And, I would just have a snack and I would go and get a spoonful of that. And then I'd go back and get another spoonful of that, and another spoonful of that. So yeah, nuts can be, they're a healthy food. And I'm so glad that we're not all fat phobic anymore. But at the same time, they've got, the different things in there that aren't always so good for you. Nuts can have a lot of mold. They can have, I've done a little kind of deep dive into moldy foods, for lack of a better word. But what I try to remember with nuts and nut products, because now we have, now that paleo and vegan have gone crazy, you've got nut butter, nut cheese, nut milk, nut. And not too long ago, I decided to kind of let go of all the nut stuff. And it was amazing to me how much I didn't think, I don't go and get a handful of nuts, but there were a lot of nut products because,
Mhm.
they're the dairy alternative. Just like gluten-free is the gluten alternative. And gluten-free can be junk food, as can nut butters and things like that. Junk food is junk food.
That's right.
But one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting about nuts that always stuck in my mind was if, okay, you were the paleo chick and you're on the savannah or whatever, you would find nuts and they would be in a shell. Now think about how long it takes to get a walnut out of a walnut shell. And you'd have to do like 40 of those to eat what we do. Like a handful of nuts can be 20. You'd have to sit there for an hour shucking 20 nuts. But
Right.
here, they're already shucked for you, so you just stuff them in your mouth and off you go.
That's
Well,
right.
that's, you know, it's not an easy thing to do in our culture, but you try to get to the closest natural source. And of course, that's not always easy, but yeah, nuts are just something that you can do a little less with, I want to say.
Absolutely. And also, if you're
Yeah.
really trying to burn fat and you're on it,
Hmm.
then really moderation with that stuff, because you
Yeah.
can accidentally go overboard, eat too much. Um, what are some other things like that that have come up over the years where people are making like mistakes, but you know what I mean,
Right.
little
I,
missteps?
yeah. I think when people decide, okay, I'm going to get healthy, they want to do all the things all at once. And I think the easiest thing to do is, of course, everybody, what do I count? What do I eat? If you want to just make life simple, just eat meat and veggies. And if you can just do meat and veggies and, some olive oil or some sauce or, you want to make up a little dressing or whatever, the closer you can just stick to, a plate full of veggies and some meat, your life's going to be a lot easier. It doesn't have to be pretty. People who don't like to cook are always like, I can't do this. I don't. I like to cook now because I made myself like to cook. I made it like a hobby, but I was an assembler. Okay, I mean, that's mostly what I do. I just assemble things. I'll make some protein and I'll put it, I'll roast some veggies and I just put it together and drizzle some dressing over it and off we go. It's done. So I think just keeping things as simple as you can, from a nutrition standpoint. If it's green, eat it, you know, that kind of thing. Just people get all wrapped up in a lot of things that I don't think they should. I think just keeping it simple. I always say keep it simple, sassy. Um,
Yeah, and
is
also
just
on that note,
yeah,
I would say like it comes to mind the whole idea of people like I used to when I had this drilled in my head, like, oh, you need to eat the fucking rainbow of colors and every so then like I'd waste a bunch of veggies that I wouldn't use because I would be trying to like every day get a
right,
thing of each veggie in the thing. And I started to go, you know what? How's my week looking? Maybe I eat kale one day, spinach the next day,
right.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, how's my week of
Hmm.
color looking instead of I would waste so much produce. And I remember then feeling like the other thing too, I think, and talk on this, like this, there's so many people that eat too many vegetables,
Hmm. Yeah,
and
that
then
can
that can
happen.
make you bloated and stuff too. And so,
Hmm.
like, I don't know, where are you with
Yeah.
these kind of things?
Yeah, well, and especially when people are just starting. So, if they're following a paleo protocol plan or something like that, what happens is, day 10, 11, 12, they're like, oh my God, I'm so bloated. Well, they've gone from, let's just say if they're doing the standard American diet, they've gone from Cheetos and hamburgers to eating a lot of raw vegetables. And raw vegetables are good for you, but you should probably do cooked veggies as much as you can for a while and just make it easier on your stomach. Uh, you know, um, Having two or three having a breakfast, lunch, and dinner with raw vegetables can really be hard on your body. And quite frankly, in this day and age, we all need probably some extra enzymes. So yeah, I always, when I'm coaching somebody, I'll be like, okay, let's start with, more soups and roasted veggies and things that are a little bit easier on your stomach because raw veggies are good, but maybe you want to do that a little, you know, 2 weeks into your newfound lifestyle or something to that effect. But yeah, moderation is definitely the key on that.
Yeah, I like that idea. Cook vegetables for a
Hmm.
while, get yourself used to it. The other thing too, I know you've seen people make this mistakes. People are like, oh, it's good. I'll do the intermittent fasting. So I'll put some fat in my coffee in the morning. And then one time I asked somebody, well, what are you actually putting in your coffee? And they said 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. I'm like, so you're getting 500 calories of fucking fat right in your
Yeah.
body? And more like, what are you doing? Right.
Yeah.
So again, like just a little bit, guys,
Well, yeah,
just a little bit
I'm
of this
not a
stuff. You still have to
huge,
watch the fat. You can't eat all the fat you
mhm,
want and get skinny. You can get fat on a low carb diet.
right. I'm not a huge fan of, now, I like a little cream in my coffee and, that can, depending on my mood, that can be, I like those little super coffee creamers. I'm not always dairy free. I can get away with some dairy and I know not everybody can, but I don't, you know what, put the butter on your broccoli or something like that. I don't, I'm not down with it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I did it for a little while. Sometimes it can help if I know I'm going to go on a long hike or something,
Yeah.
and then I'll be like,
Yeah.
I probably won't get eat till later, and I know I might. Then I'll do like some energy bits and maybe like a tiny little. I might even, you know what I did the other day? I was in between one meal and another, and I didn't want to eat because I was looking forward to the bigger dinner meal,
Hmm.
but I needed to hold myself off. I just took a swig of olive oil.
Yeah, there you
It
go.
might have only been a teaspoon. Held me
Yeah.
over, man. So in those
Yeah.
cases, like then that little tiny blip of fat can be a good move, but not tablespoons upon tablespoons. You still have to look at what it is that the macros.
Yeah.
So people are like, why am I
Well,
not losing weight?
right. Well, let's get into this morning breakfast coffee thing because I beat this drum all the time. So I'll have people, okay, well, I don't like to eat breakfast. Well, do you get up and have coffee first thing? Well, yeah. Well, coffee is an appetite suppressant. I mean, I love coffee. I'm not going to lie. I love coffee, but I don't have my coffee until after I've had my breakfast or with my breakfast because it suppresses your appetite. It screws with your hormones. Um, I just am like, have it a little bit later. If you want something, if you don't want to do the lemon water and stuff, because sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. I love bone broth in the morning with a
Mhm.
little dollop of olive oil and some flaky Maldon salt, and just have a cup of that. And if you want, you can put some L-glutamine in it, help your gut. I mean, it's like a hug in a mug. I don't do it anymore, but I used to get up at 4:30 in the morning and go CrossFit. And at 4:30 in the morning, you don't want anything yet, and I also didn't want to work out on a full stomach. So I'd get my little coffee tumbler, my travel tumbler, and I would put some glutamine and some bone broth in it and just a little bit of olive oil and salt. And it's
Oh,
so
I like that.
nurturing. Yeah. Yeah. Very nurturing. So if you want to give something a try, give that a try. And not to say that I don't like the bulletproof coffee. I do like it, but I just don't think it's an everyday situation.
I'm with you on that. And also
Yeah.
throwing a little collagen in the coffee can be a
Yes.
nice move as well.
Yes.
I try to do that too, since I'm not really a big breakfast, like I'm not a huge
Yeah.
breakfast person, but I
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
yeah. What are some other thoughts or some tales from your own personal life, things you've worked out, over time, like some of the things we're thinking about, right? Like, oh, nuts or this or these bulletproof coffee.
Yeah. So I've got, I'm a nutrition geek and, that's why we love each other. And I've tried a few different things and I really feel like if you're not getting some answers, I'm kind of digging deep into the heavy metals and the mold
Oh
testing.
yeah. Oh yeah.
That's like a rabbit hole. That's a big bunny rabbit hole. So I've been
I'm
kind of
I'm glad
playing
you
with
mentioned
that.
that because I had a very horrible mercury and arsenic issue, but
Mm-hmm.
horrible mercury. And I guess this is what I can say about it.
Go ahead.
For most things, I'm able to qualify the situation. I can tell you exactly what the symptom is for something, right? Like I can describe how I felt with hypothyroidism very in detail. I can't completely qualify the mercury thing other than to say some shit was off that I can't actually, like people would go, well, what's off? And I go, I don't know. All I can say is
Mm-hmm.
when I found out I had the high mercury, and then there was a point where I did the sauna every day. I was doing the natural chelation. I used Pectaclear, which is a
Right.
combination of modified citrus pectin and sodium alginate. And I did that as a according to Dr. Forsman. And then there came a day, and I hadn't gotten retested yet, but there was a day where I go, I know this mercury's on in my body. I can feel it. And again, I can't qualify it. And I wish that I could have like at the
Mm-hmm.
time, but I really can't even, other than life was way clearer and different. I think there was some mental shit going on there. I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
was going on. And it wasn't something, again, like I can really qualify and write a list of symptoms. All I can say is, though, when it was out, it was obvious. And
Yeah.
that's when I kind of felt the contrast like, oh, shit. And so I can only say, and also for everyone listening, listen, heavy metals do affect, like they can cause reverse T3 problems if you're having issues burning fat, mitochondrial function, all that stuff. You have to clean it up. I have a lifetime of sushi and canned tuna eating that probably got me there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
so and then I retested, it went down. Then I waited, I tested again. It kind of went up a little bit, so I might do another little round, but it went from very high to very low. And it was really only within 4 or 5 months. And I just did the Pectaclear and the sauna and kept everything else the same. And it was it's
Nice.
a whole new world.
Nice. Well, you and I are going to have a chat about this, afterwards, because I'm still battling some things. And what I think everybody should know is, and this is what's happened for me, my doctor and I are working, and it's like, okay, I'm not feeling well. Okay, well, are you doing this? Yes. Are you doing this? Yes. Are you doing this? Yes. And when you're doing everything and you're
Right.
just not feeling better,
That was
I
it.
think I think that's when people really need, because of course you should start with nutrition. That's going to clean up a lot of things. And, sleep hygiene obviously is number one. And, walks in nature and circadian rhythms. And, there's a whole host of things that can help you. But if you're just not getting where you can be, then I would highly suggest some further testing into, I call it the woo stuff. Because the more you know, the more things go woo on you because it's like, oh boy, here we go.
Well,
But
and that had also been later on. Like I had already solved
mhm,
my thyroid problem. I was feeling good. The labs looked good, all the other stuff.
right.
But yet then we did further stuff, and it was like, there we go. And that's what you're saying. There was
Hmm.
just something off that I couldn't qualify, and I was doing all of the other things, and all the other things had already been corrected. And then, here we
Yeah,
go. And I
yeah,
remember too when I got the call from him about the results. I was scared shitless out of my mind because,
yeah.
Dr. Forsman, if anyone's heard him, he's very sweet. He's not an alarmist type of guy. And he was literally like, listen, you need to do something about this immediately.
Mhm.
And I was like,
Yeah,
no. I was
yeah,
like, I'm gonna he was like, this is really bad. And I was like, oh shit.
yeah.
And so okay, the heavy metals test, at least the one that I took, for most people listening, like one of the you can do a hair test and stuff, but a lot of functional doctors use this urine analysis test. I don't know if that's how you did it. Did you use the
Yeah. I
genetic
actually
diagnostics?
haven't done that one yet. I just have done the mold, and of course that came back positive. So
Mm.
I've been working the mold protocol, and I'm actually, after I get off this call, I'm going to talk to my doctor, and we're going to do heavy metal and then retest for mold and see if I've been able to you know, get somewhere, get rid of it or get somewhere better, so to speak. But yeah, I've got to do the heavy metal too.
Yeah, the heavy metals is like a Genova diagnostics test. It's actually not that expensive. It might only be $200 to $300 compared to a lot of these other tests, which are
Right.
very expensive. But you get it from a functional medicine doctor, and the kit comes with like a collation pill. So you wake up in the morning, you pee, then you take this pill, and you kind of sit around and drink water and pee into a jug all day, and blah blah blah, and you follow the instructions, and then that's how they determine, and the doctor can check off on that thing, like which heavy metals and how extensive the profile.
Right.
It was absolutely enlightening. Now, I
Hmm.
can't speak to the hair analysis heavy metal test other than to say I did do one around the time I did the urine one too, and they both reflected the same sort of results. So, does that mean
Okay.
that the hair analysis is actually decent and only $100 and worthwhile? Maybe. All I know is that the functional doctors usually do it the way I described it.
Right. Right.
Genova
Yeah.
diagnostics. Yeah, mold toxicity, all of these things. I've had so many clients whose lives have been upended for years until they got rid of that mold situation.
Yeah, the mold came back and I was like, oh boy, here we go. And then I started thinking about it. I lived in Florida most of my life. I had a roof leak in, I think, probably all of the houses that I lived in, just a little leak, but you get it fixed, but you don't think about what's in the roof and, behind the walls and everything. And I'm like, Florida is, humid. So it's the best place to be moldy.
Yep.
So, I started thinking about that. So then I started looking into mold protocols. And of course, everybody has a different one, but I just kind of distilled uh, down what I thought would, be good. And I was eating a lot of foods that, like bacon is probably not your best bet. Dates is not your best bet. Your coffee needs to be third party mold tested, and things like that. So, yet it's yet another protocol. And at first you're like, oh God, here we go, but it really was very simple. So I've probably done 6 months of that now, in some form or fashion. So I'm got my fingers crossed that might be
Yeah.
gone. I'm
Well,
feeling better. I have more energy. I can work out again. So something's going right.
and what's great about this story is just that because to show you, like even being health coaches forever, something will come up somewhere, and you're going, "Oh my God!" But at least we have the tools to go. Hold on a minute. No, we're going to
Right.
look into this, and then we're going to learn everything we can about it, so we can help other people. Um, but we're not immune to this stuff, right? You're going to end up living in a place you get mold. That's not, oh well, like now we got to deal
Mhm.
with it. So things come up. No one's immune to any of this kind of thing other than
Right.
I'm
Yeah, I
glad.
usually give myself 24 hours to be like, oh, come on, more, and then I realize that the reason I'm going through this is so that I can help somebody else. And then that
Absolutely.
always makes me feel better. But yeah, I give myself 24 hours to have a pity party or, moan and groan, whatever you want. And then I move on and go, okay, how can I help other people with this? So like, I'm kind of waiting to do my, my next mold test, and then I'll see where it's at and then be like, okay, here's what I did. This is what happened. Here's where we're going, and just kind of help out where I can.
Tell us some people that you've helped over the years along the way. Give us a few 180 success stories or some triumphs and
Mm.
that people have gotten to the other side on.
Okay. Well, being a woman of a certain age, I've pretty much worked with women over 40 for I'm 50, I'll be 55 this year. So I've always worked with women over 45, 50. And these are the people, typically, they've grown up in the fat phobic, diet centric, um, it's the Jane Fondas and all that kind of stuff. So just deprogramming them first and foremost from a diet culture into one of just being healthy and looking for longevity instead of um, fitting into my clothes. That in itself is a whole process. Um, and just learning how to take care of themselves because they have taken care of everyone.
Hmm.
Every single person, they take care of their neighbors before they take care of themselves. So getting them to kind of put that mantle down and and give themselves the love that they need and deserve has been one of the things that what's funny is that's really what you end up working on. Everybody thinks that they're coming in for a diet or to lose 10 pounds or whatever. And then you end up doing this whole 180, as you said. It's like some of the coaches, they're like, oh, if they want to do weight loss, I'm not even going to talk to them because I don't want that whole mentality. Well, those are the people who need it the most because they don't even know what they need. And so I really like working with those people. And, there's nothing wrong with wanting to lose weight. It's just, why are you wanting to lose weight? And usually it's really, they just want to get healthy.
That's right.
So
And
we work
sometimes
with
the
them.
focus, especially for people beyond that age, a lot of us are not trying to be bikini models at this point. Like, what I mean? We're not like attempting a modeling career. Like,
Right.
and so it is about like, hold on, like longevity, mobility, flexibility, and less about what does it look like?
Right.
Because as you and I both know, and I keep trying to pinpoint this, you guys, there's so many fit, hot people out there that are fucking pre-diabetic and inflamed. You just can't tell. They look good. They look
Yeah.
good. But guess what? Someone over there who's kind of soft and doesn't look like they work out may have way better blood work and longevity
Right.
markers. So,
Right.
it's not always the visual. That's the thing, right? And
Right.
it's more important as you get older to think about, organ reserve and longevity and that stuff. You mentioned Jane Fonda, and I'm laughing because, like, yeah, back in the day, but then, like, she came out later and was like, "Oh, I was completely bulimic through that whole thing." You know what I mean?
Right. Right. I love Jane Fonda. I shouldn't pick on
I do
Jane
too. But
Fonda.
people are still
I love
stuck
Jane
back in
Fonda.
that thing, and you're like, yeah, but she wasn't even doing it.
Yeah, I was just trying to give you a visual. But what I
Totally.
find so interesting is, all right, let's just take your typical 52-year-old woman. She is having all of these symptoms. Okay. These symptoms can be Epstein-Barr, they can be thyroid issues, they can be menopause issues, they can be heart disease issues, they can be lupus, they can be MS. All of the symptoms that people come to me with are exactly the same. And you have got to figure out what is going to help people. And I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV for sure, but you really have to sift through things because fatigue can be you need to learn how to sleep, or it could be,
Iron.
circadian rhythm issue, iron. It could be any number of things. So you really have to wade through these symptoms and just get to know the person and really kind of dive into their habits and just try to help them, because you don't know if it could be something not serious or it could be a precursor to a metabolic condition. So you really have to take these 45 to 60-year-old women. I mean, it's amazing to me. And I'm so fascinated because, like I said, it's like an apex. It's like, so, okay, I don't feel good. So is it because I'm menopausal? Is it, people love to say just aging, and nobody should feel bad at any age,
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, so I really dig working with that age group.
Yeah, well,
and I just think
it's a more
fascinating.
complicated age group. It is like
it's very
you said,
complicated.
but it's great because, like, and my personal example too of that would be perimenopausal symptoms happening, me not feeling as mentally maybe ambitious about my goals and some thinking stuff, and I knew it wasn't my thyroid. I knew it wasn't, and turns out I just needed some testosterone.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because it was that, right? Where someone would pass it off like, oh, I have brain fog. It must be, or I'm having memory issues. It's like, you could be going through menopause and having issues there. And all those things are at like you said, it's like a trifecta of things. So the most complicated client is someone who's got like EBV, Lyme disease, menopause, and a thyroid problem and adrenal problem, right? And they all can go hand in hand. And then maybe, so you do have to like, and then you're the perfect person for it to pick all of that apart. It's
right.
This is also the time of life to like, let's clean it out and get it right, man. We got one chance. We got the second half left. This is the time where when I have spoken with clients in the past, and it's not like the 30-year-old clients necessarily, unless they need it, but it's the ones we're talking about at my age and your age, where it's like, hey, now is the time to spend the money on a good functional workup and do all of this stuff, because you've got
time to take care of you.
Yeah, you lived this whole life and you've gotten all toxed up and you didn't do anything for yourself and all the kids and
yeah. And it's, and I always say, let's do the low hanging fruit first. Let's clean up your diet. Let's, work on your sleep and do those things. And as you improve those things, then it's like an onion. You just keep tearing away at that onion and until you find what the root cause is. And, I was a massage therapist for years, and somebody would come in with a knee issue, and it was always, let's go upstream. What's upstream? Is it your hips? Is it your back? Where is it? It was never the knee. Yes, the knee hurt, but that's never where it was originating from. And so I take that same approach with coaching is, okay, well, what's upstream? Let's go take a look. So yeah, it's fun.
I love
Very
it.
interesting.
Tell us how people can connect with you and reach out to you to coach with you.
My website is Motivate Me Love. I am also on Instagram as Motivate Me Love. I have a Facebook page that's Debbie Marlowe Holistic Health Coach. I do all my coaching. We have a private platform within Mighty Networks because I'm not a big Facebook fan. And that is called Empowered Health. And it's myself and some other health coaches. And we just, anytime we find a great article or if there's something we want to talk about, we put it in Empowered Health. I can link you to that. That's a free network. You can just come in and rattle around. We also do any courses or anything that we're doing. If we're doing like a paleo protocol or elimination diet, we'll do it in there. I am thinking really hard about doing another course, which is like tiny habits. Just taking 1 week, and this is the habit that we're going to work on this week. That's just brewing in my head, but it'll probably get down on in Empowered Health here shortly. So yeah, just reach out. I'm at Let's Chat at motivatemelo.love. You can find me if you want to find me. You can find me, and I'm always happy to talk.
And I'll just enunciate that. It's motivatemelove.com. Yes. Right. Okay, great.
Yep.
Debbie, as usual, thank you so much. And
all right.
Thanks for being a friend and a wonderful colleague. And you guys, if you're suffering and you're struggling, reach out to Debbie. She can help you. And anything else you'd like to leave with our audience before we go?
Oh, well, no, that's about it. I always love spending time with you. Oh, and just for some people really kind of enjoy this. I live in my RV full time. And so if I can do healthy stuff in a 4-foot kitchen, so can you.
You know what? That's absolutely true. Thank you so much, Debbie. And for everyone else, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hey, listeners. Over the years, a ton of companies have approached me to collaborate, but I will only promote companies whose products I believe in and that I actually use and consume on a regular basis. So let me tell you about some of my favorite companies that I can offer you discounts for. Rep Provisions, an amazing company doing incredible things for our planet, topsoil, and animals with regenerative agriculture, and it's my #1 source for quality pasture-raised meat and chicken. Visit repprovisions.com and use code L15 for 15% off. I'm also obsessed with a company called Carnivore Crisps. They make a lean, all-natural, and delicious alternative to conventional snacking, made with just real meat and real salt. Totally addictive, and my favorite ones are the beef brisket and the ribeye. Visit carnivorecrisps.com and use code PALEO10 for 10% off. I also love and regularly use Paleo Valley products. They make amazing supplements and delicious paleo products. I use the superfood greens powder, grass-fed beef sticks, the organ complex, and their bone broth bars. I love the lemon and apple. I also use their essential C complex and more. Visit paleovalley.com/promos/LRUS for 15% off. I also love Primal Kitchen. They make delicious paleo-approved, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and no refined sugar products. And I use them daily, from their collagen powders and sauces and marinades to their avocado and olive oil. So good, so healthy. Visit primalkitchen.com and use code L10 for 10% off. I also love paleo powder and use it almost on everything I cook. They make incredible seasoning blends, and they also have these incredible grain-free coatings that feel just like crispy breadings that you would have had prior to knowing that there's another way. So visit paleopowder.com and use code L15 for 15% off.